Today we'll be talking about saving methods that we use. One of the things we do is we have high yield saving accounts. So it at least is making us a percentage every single month. It's not just sitting there doing nothing but getting obliterated by inflation and all that. If you're going to be saving, put that money to work. So to me, saving is fun. I take it like a game. Not that I don't take it seriously, but I like to put my spin on it so that saving becomes something fun and exciting to do rather than something mandatory, you have to do it type of thing. So for me, I always looked into money challenges. So there's this one money challenge where you put in money every single week. There's 52 weeks in a year. Week 1 you put $1. Week 2 you put $2. Week 3 3, so on and so forth. So if you do that throughout the entire year, you end up with just a little over $1,400. So for those that are struggling to save, you don't think you can save $1,400, like that's a fun, exciting way to save an easy $1,400. So another savings method I do is the pay me first method. I budget all my expenses. I know how much has to go towards my light bill, water bill, internet, all that stuff. I pay myself first. So as soon as the check comes in, money goes directly to my savings, money goes directly to my investments, and then I know everything else is for bills. And if there's anything left over, it's pretty much fun money or got to eat or something like that.
So I'm glad you mentioned pay yourself first because it's something you hear often in personal finance, but it can be confusing when you first hear it because what does it mean in practice? I do the same thing. I budget for how much I know the bills will cost and then know my targets for savings. Everything is automated. As soon as my paycheck hits, it just goes wherever it needs to go. Anything left over is what I know I can spend. Starting out, I had to keep track of it really closely using spreadsheets, but it gets to a point where you pretty much know how much is left over. Now, like I don't even pay attention. So I have that system that I set up and it's in place and it's just automated. Everything's going where it needs to go. And the rest I just put on my rewards credit card so I can get some rewards, and of course I pay that off in full every month and use those points for travel.
You have a very good point as far as creating a spreadsheet. So I think jotting everything down, kind of seeing what your expenses are and pretty much budgeting for that, you'll kind of be able to tell how much money you have left over for saving or investing. So definitely a good call out there.
Especially starting out, it's easy to lose track of where everything's going. Like sometimes you don't even realize that you're spending money on things until you write it down and then you start seeing it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's a lot of fun ways to save and invest. The one that I see most frequently is the little envelopes of money. So it has, this is for fun, this is for water, this is for internet, this is for the electricity, this is rent. Just from my perspective, the only flaw in that is that the money sitting there is not generating you anything. So I think it's fun to separate it like that, but then I would throw it into a high yield savings account so at least it's making some type of interest. But I think that's a really cool way to go about it.
And I think especially if you're starting from the beginning, starting from the bottom and developing that habit of saving, I think that's a great way to get started. So in the last episode, I talked about how I saved a lot of money by eating ramen noodles. And this is not something I'm recommending, but the recommendation is to cook at home for most of your meals. Because especially nowadays with food costs being so high and the standard tip is now 20% and everything's getting more expensive with inflation. So every time you eat out, it's costing more and more. I'm not saying not to eat out. We have a separate account. So we have money in there that we can use for eating out or going out and entertainment. But cooking at home saves so much money, especially, I'm Asian. So we eat a lot of rice, and rice is super cheap. Jesus eats a lot of beans. Just kidding. I don't know. I don't know. Super cheap ingredients that can make super delicious meals.
My last saving method that I've been using lately is to create a little like a mental game for myself. So for example, when I was paying my car, that was about $500 a month. So now that I've finished paying it, those $500 are now free. So in my mind, I still leave it as I still owe that $500 a month payment, but obviously because I'm done now, I pretty much split it between my savings and my investments. So I'm still in my brain is still going towards the car, but it's really going to saving and invest.
I did the same thing there as well. I bought a used Corolla back in 2011, and it wasn't the car I wanted. It was the car that I needed at that time because my old car had broken down and I needed the transportation to get to work. And so while I'm paying it off, my intention the whole time was as soon as it's paid off, I would go and buy a nicer car. Once that last payment went through and then I started seeing like how much money I had left over, it was a nice feeling. And I could have very easily gone and taken that $400, and they call it lifestyle inflation. Luckily, that's when I started finding the FIRE movement and learning about personal finance, and I was able to avoid that.
Thank y'all for tuning in. Please comment down below what saving methods y'all use, what works for y'all, and how y'all are applying it to your everyday life. We'll see y'all next time. Peace out. That's all, folks. None of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes only. So please do your own research.